I moved from Japan to Germany a couple years ago to start my studies in Munich, and looking back, there are 10 important things I wish I knew before studying here. In this video, I'm going to share all of them so that you don't have to learn them the hard way like I did. So first, let's talk about bureaucracy, which is slow, painful, and also still paper-based. You know, Germany is famous for being efficient, but that reputation disappears the moment you deal with bureaucracy. Whether it's applying for a residence permit, registering your address, opening a bank account, or trying to get health insurance, you're going to run into it. And the biggest shock for me, a lot of it still happens on paper. You actually have to fill out forms by hand. You need to print documents, sign them, and sometimes even mail them. And yes, some offices still use fax machines. I wish I were joking. But if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this: stay organized. So here's what helps. Get a physical folder with tabs for all your documents and make photocopies. Keep digital backups. And always start the process early because the system will not rush for you. If one paper is missing, you're done for the day. Now the good news is that these days there are more and more options for health insurance and banking where you don't have to deal with paperwork at all. This is actually a huge topic, and I'm going to make a detailed video about German bureaucracy very soon on this channel, so subscribe to not miss it. Next, let's talk about punctuality. I always knew punctuality is kind of important in life, and in Japan it's highly valued too. But stepping into adult life here in Germany, I realized there's more nuance to it. It's not just a sign of respect, it's almost like a moral value. And being on time here means being exactly on time. If you're late, it's seen as rude, but even being too early can feel a little bit disrespectful. For example, if you go to a party in Germany, showing up 15 minutes early isn't really the right move. The right move is arriving on time. And I actually appreciate how punctual people are. So meetings start when they're supposed to, and that makes life run smoother. There's only one exception, the train system. And German trains are known for being very late all the time, but that's a topic for a different video. Now in Germany, cash is still king, and your card might not work sometimes. And this one really surprised me. I always thought that in a developed country like Germany, paying by card would be standard. Well, yes, but actually no. In a lot of places like small shops, bakeries, and even some restaurants, cards just aren't accepted. And I learned this the hard way. I went into a cafe, ordered a coffee and a sandwich, and when I tried to pay with my card, the cashier was like, "No, you cannot do this here." And she pointed to a small sign that said, "Nur EC-Karte." Back then I didn't know what that meant. But spoiler, it means they only accept German bank cards. Now in Germany there's something called a Girocard, and you can use it to pay in shops or withdraw cash at ATMs. Anyway, in that moment I had no cash, no German card, and no idea what to do. So what I did is I left my wallet at the counter and I ran out to find an ATM to withdraw cash. It's not exactly my proudest moment. So here's my advice: always carry cash in Germany. Even in 2025, Germany still runs on coins and bills, and especially older people prefer cash. That said, contactless payments are becoming more and more common, so who knows, maybe in a couple of years things will look completely different. I'm actually hoping that they're going to be different. Now in Germany, surprisingly, public nudity is normal, and it's not what you think. So before I moved here, I had no idea that public nudity was just a normal part of life in Germany. And whether it's in saunas, on certain beaches, or even in some parks during the summer, you're going to see people completely naked. And the crazy thing is, nobody cares. In Munich, for example, during the summer, you're going to see this in the parks or by the river. And people are just laying there, swimming, sunbathing, totally naked. And it's not a big deal. No one stares, no one looks uncomfortable. The important thing to understand is that it's not meant to be provocative. I would say Germany is a very individualistic country, and as long as you're not harming or disturbing anyone, you're pretty free to do whatever you want. But still, it's good to know before you move here so that you can mentally prepare yourself. Now next, let's talk about winters, which are long, dark, and emotionally challenging. Now this is something that hits a lot of students really hard in their first semester. The German winter. The German winters are long, dark, wet, and cold, and very quiet. And the thing is, the sun starts setting as early as 4 p.m, so it gets dark very quickly. And the skies are going to stay gray for weeks, and when you mix that with freezing weather and less social interaction, it can really affect your mental health. And most students who come to Germany arrive in October for the winter semester. And around that time, the weather is already changing. And you might even see the first snow in October or November. So you come to Germany full of excitement, and what you step into is gloomy fall weather. And it's not just about the cold. It's the lack of sunlight, the grayness and stillness. Life kind of slows down, people stay indoors, and it can feel very isolating at first. And my first winter after staying abroad for so long, it really hit me hard. The second one was much better though, mainly because I knew what to expect and how to take care of myself. And this is something nobody really talks about. I'm also going to make a full video with tips on how to survive the German winter. So if you don't want to miss that, also make sure to subscribe. Now, when I first started university in Germany, I didn't really have any crazy expectations. Honestly, I really didn't think much about what university life here would be like. I also didn't ask many students beforehand, so I just showed up and some things really hit me hard. And the whole structure of university life here is very hands-off. There are barely any attendance requirements, no one checks if you go to lectures or not. And you grade? In most cases, it's based almost entirely on one final exam, sometimes even 100%. So it's very interesting. No one checks in on you. No one reminds you to study. It's completely your responsibility to keep up. And I kind of underestimated just how much self-discipline and structure I would need to stay on track. But here's the thing, almost every student struggles with this at the beginning, and you're absolutely not alone. And most of your peers are also trying to adjust to this new system. And the key here is consistency. If you push everything into the future and start studying for your exam in the last few weeks, you're going to regret it. And yes, I'm also guilty of it. I've tried starting exam prep just 1 week before the test. Trust me, German exams are kinda tough, They assume you've been studying the whole semester. So please pick your battles wisely. And speaking of battles, one that you definitely don't want to fight the hard way is learning German. If you want to properly prepare for life in Germany and make things so much easier for yourself, check out the detailed video I made about the best way to learn German as a beginner. And for your convenience, I put the link down in the video description. Now, one thing I wish I knew before coming here is that professors might not be very approachable. And this one surprised me in a very different way. And it really depends on where you study and what kind of university you choose. I've studied at both a classic university and also a university of applied sciences. And honestly, they feel like two completely different worlds. I kind of expected that I would be able to casually approach my professors. Stop them in the hallway, have a conversation, and send them a quick, relaxed email with a question. And that's what I was used to from my school days. But that was not the case at all. At my first university, the Technical University of Munich, a classic university by the way, professors were much more formal, distant and kind of reserved. Office hours technically existed, but they were often fully booked or didn't really feel welcoming. And it's not that it's a bad thing, I'm sure there are reasons for it, but I just want you to be prepared. I'm also sure it changes at the master's level, where classes are going to be smaller. But in reality, my expectations were just different. Now, when I switched to a University of Applied Sciences in Munich, the experience was completely different. And many professors actually knew us by name, even at the bachelor's level. And they were open, approachable, and willing to answer questions or explain things. So if you're planning to study in Germany, keep this in mind please. Smaller universities, and especially universities of applied sciences, often give you a much more supportive environment. It really comes down to picking a university that fits your learning style and preferences. Now, one more surprise I had in Germany is that everything is closed on Sundays. Yes, you heard that right. One of the first shocks I had in Germany happened on a Sunday, right after I moved into my apartment. I had no food at home, so I thought, no problem, I'm just gonna buy groceries. So I walked to the supermarket, which was closed. The pharmacy, also closed. Everything was closed, except restaurants. And I checked Google Maps and every single store had the same label. Geschlossen. And then it hit me. After living abroad for a while, I completely forgot that in Germany almost everything is closed on Sundays. And that's because Sunday is legally protected here as a day of rest. No shopping, no loud noises like vacuuming, and in general, no productivity. It's meant to be a day for quiet, family rest, or spending time in nature. And this is especially true in Bavaria, since it's a very Christian state. In other German cities, it can be a little different, but in general, Sunday is not a shopping day. So the reality is, you have to plan ahead. If you forget to buy food on Saturday, you're basically out of luck. Restaurants are still kind of open, so you can still go out and eat, but it means you don't really have a choice. And back then I ended up going to a friend's place and asking if I could join him for dinner. It was also not my proudest moment, so please mentally prepare yourself before you come here. Next, let's talk about recycling. Recycling in Germany is kind of intense. Honestly, it feels like a national sport. And the tough part is there is no friendly learning curve. From day one, you're expected to know the difference between paper waste, plastic packaging, organic waste, and all the other variations of trash. There are also 3 different types of glass bins which are sorted by color. And on top of that, there is the fund system, where you can return bottles for a deposit refund. It's a lot, and it really feels like you need to study a proper degree just to get this one right. So a tip from my side, take a photo of the bin labels and rules in your building, and they're going to tell you exactly what goes where. You can absolutely ask your friends, other people, or your landlord. And once you know how the system works, it's going to be very easy. Now, as you might have noticed, in Germany there are a lot of rules. And they expect you to follow them. They are not suggestions. And if you don't follow them, chances are that somebody is going to call you out. And trust me, when they do this in German, it can sound really harsh. I was also surprised about this after being abroad. So a tip from my side, don't take it too personally. It's not for everyone, I absolutely understand that. But once you accept it, life here actually starts to feel more predictable and safe. And in Germany, there are a couple of rules you really don't want to break. Don't wash your car in front of your house, don't blast music on a Sunday, and never run out of gas on the highway. Yes, that's actually illegal. Now, I'm also very curious, what's something that surprised you about life in Germany? Let me know in the comments, I read every single one. Now, in case you want to learn German and prepare for life in Germany, check out this video about the best way to learn German as a beginner. Love you and stay focused.